Hello, everyone. It's Elsie. I want to thank you so much for sponsoring me for the Bridge to Rutland Arts Marathon this year. So, you donated last month. Today is April 1st, and we are on our art journey now. So, you may have seen that the art that I will create this month is a cross-stitch pattern from a company called Long Dog Samplers. And this design company has kind of a cult following. They have their own Facebook group where people share their progress on different long dog sampler patterns. So they have a lot of patterns. They have dozens and dozens of patterns. And so the pattern I chose is called Two Men's Morris, which is apparently, I meant to have, they have it all written up on their website. It's based on some game called Three Men's Morris, but they changed it to Two Men's Morris. So I'm not sure that the title has much to do with the pattern, but their patterns are very intricate. They're called samplers. Some of them have an alphabet or numbers from 1 to 10 on them. So samplers, traditionally cross-stitch samplers, had numbers from 1 to 10 and had the alphabet on them. And young girls would actually learn the alphabet and learn their numbers by doing these samplers. So along with the numbers and alphabet, they often had other things on them, flowers or animals or whatever. They were usually kind of simple. So long dog samplers sometimes have that, but they also are just filled with different little creatures and things. And so I'm just going to show you quickly. This is the pattern I'm doing, and it's got a ton of really interesting things on it. And it's the biggest cross-stitch pattern I've ever done. So the pattern itself is 12 pages long. So because of that, I probably won't finish the whole thing in April, but I'm going to make a lot of progress on it. So the finished pattern, I'm trying to remember. So of course, they don't even have the measurements on here, but it's 296 stitches across by 270 stitches down. So what's that? Like roughly 300 by 300 would be like 90,000 stitches. So it's pretty big. I think it comes out to be about 18 inches square. So that's pretty big. So my plan for it, so these patterns, they have a huge number of patterns that are monochromatic. So they intend people to take a usually white piece of fabric and do all the stitching in black. So, but people, very creative cross-stitchers, will add their own artistic flair to these monochromatic pieces. So sometimes they will just change the color of the thread, right? So they'll do it on white fabric in like blue or green or sometimes they'll use a variegated thread so that the whole thing comes out to be kind of wavy color. But some people get really into it and they will choose a different color fabric, or they will choose specific elements in the pattern and just change the color of those elements. So for instance, there's some repeating elements in a lot of these. So there's rabbits in almost every one of these, like just somewhere in the pattern, there will be rabbits. Okay, so that's one of the things. Also crowns. This designer tends to have some animals usually wearing crowns. And so sometimes people will make the crowns gold. Even if they've made the entire rest of it black, they will just make the crowns gold. So, or they will pick out certain elements. Some people get really detailed, like they will take this monochromatic pattern and they'll put like 20 different colors in it, and they'll just choose which things they want for which colors. So again, some people put like a ton of creativity in this. So I wanted to make mine, you know, unique also. So I decided first to use a different color fabric. So this is the fabric. Whoops, I don't know if you can see it. It might be, but the color is watermelon. Okay, so this is hand dyed fabric that I got on Etsy. And what's funny is after I ordered it, I saw that it was coming from St. Petersburg. So there's a woman here in St. Petersburg who hand dyes fabric in like a ton of different colors. So this is watermelon. And this piece of fabric is 21 inches by 36 inches. But I'm going to have to cut some off of it because that's way too big. I think it might end up just being square 21 inches by 21 inches. And then I'll have a little strip of actually like 15 inches that maybe I can do another smaller project with. And so this fabric is called Aida, A-I-D-A, and it is what I would say maybe the majority of cross stitchers use. It's a grid, so it has squares and you make the X over the square. And so there's different sizes of Aida, different counts based on, I guess a lot of it is personal preference. So this is 18 count, which is pretty small, but you can use linen, which is even teenier. If you were like trying to teach your child how to do cross stitch, you might use 11 count. So the number is how many stitches per inch you're going to be able to make, how many squares per inch. So 11 means there's only 11 squares in an inch. So 18 means there's going to be 18 squares in an inch of fabric. So it's much smaller, but it's kind of what I'm currently preferring. And so even if this pattern was probably in a linen, and I'm a little too, I'm not quite confident enough to use linen yet, because when you use linen, it's so tiny that you generally will stitch over 2 squares. And to me, like counting, so this is counted cross stitch, which means you have a blank piece of fabric and you have a pattern. So you have to count over to where each stitch needs to be. So if you miscount, you could possibly throw this thing off. And some people, if they miscount, they will just undo all those stitches, while others take a creative approach and try to just make it work the way it is with their mistake. But so if you are stitching over 2, that means for each square, you'd have to count 2 squares. And I feel like I would totally screw that up. So linen looks really cool, but there are some challenges to working with it. So I'm not quite to where I want to do that yet. So anyway, so yes, so this is 18 count Aida, and the color's watermelon, and there was a note with it, which I might have figured it out. So there's a right side and a wrong side of this fabric to use. And they told me the outside is the correct side and the inside is kind of the wrong side. Although you can stitch on either side. I did get another piece of fabric from the same person, and I could see that one side looked like the color that I ordered and the other side was kind of blotchy. So I'm sure that has something to do with the dyeing process. So yeah, I'll definitely use the side that she said to use. Right, so I did pick a few extra colors of floss. I'm going to do this mostly in black, but I did pick, let's see, I think I have them in here. Yeah, so I did pick a couple complementary colors. I originally was going to make all the rabbits gray, but I'm not sure if I'm going to do that now. But I do want to make the crowns gold. It's just a thing. So I have this gold actually that's left over from a piece I just did. And then I have all my black, right? So I did pick this dark gray that I may do some elements, maybe not the rabbits, but I might pick some elements to do that gray in. And then I'm going to put it next to the fabric. I also picked this deep pink that there's some sort of magical elements in this pattern, and I might do those in this deep pink. So I've only got 4 colors that I'm working with. the deep pink, the dark gray, the black, and the gold. And so I think that will make it look very interesting without being too complicated. So, and these are actually called floss, right? DMC is the brand, and you can get them at like Joann's or Michael's. So that's that. I've got a couple other supplies I wanted to talk about. One, if you read my weekly newsletter, which is called Sunday Mornings in Bed, I recently talked about hoops and the different types of hoops that there are. So I'm going to put a link to that in the description of this YouTube video. So if you want to follow my newsletter, you can. And if you have any questions throughout the month that you want me to answer, you can either send me an email, you can reply to my emails, or you can put a comment in one of the YouTube videos and I will answer your question in an upcoming video. So anything you want to know, or if you want to know where a link to the woman who did this fabric or a link to any of these products that I use, just give me a shout. So this is the hoop I'm using, and it's called a Q-snap. And it's basically just pipes hooked together with elbows. And then each of the sides has like a half piece of pipe that fits around. And so it holds your pattern, the part that you're working on, tight, which makes it easier, I think, to stitch it. Now, some people will just take this piece of fabric and just hold it in their hand, but I don't like the fabric to be so loose. I guess I'm worried that I will make my stitches too tight and it'll crinkle up the fabric. So I really like using this. And one of the other things, so I'm part of these Facebook groups for cross stitchers, and they have some incredibly clever ideas about how to, stitch more efficiently or just do things better. And so one of the things they do is they buy these, and that's the only reason I have them. They buy these magnetic, they're to wrap around your cords, like your computer cords, to keep them tight, and then they magnet together to hold it. So what cross stitchers often do is when they've got a big piece of fabric like this and they've got it in their hoop, they take the excess on the sides and roll it up and then hook it, secure it. And you'll see once I get going, you'll see that I've done this. They secure it so that it's not just all over the place, so that it's out of the way for them. So that's a good tool. Okay. Oh, and the last thing I'm going to tell you about today so this is the hoop. Yeah. And if I end up not liking this hoop for this project, I will switch to one of my other ones. I have several other ones. And this is probably 7 inches, maybe, I'm guessing. So, I mean, you can only work on so much surface at a time, but you don't want to have to move your hoop too often. The other nice thing about this hoop is it doesn't cause as bad of wrinkles as the other type of hoop. Anyway, so another thing that I got, and I really don't remember how I ended up finding this, but is this thing. It's purple and it's leather. It might be fake leather. I hope it's fake leather. So it's really very similar to a case/stand for a tablet. And so it will sit up like this, right? Just like a tablet holder. But this side has metal in it. And these are all magnets. And so you can fold your pattern so that it's a half of a sheet, and you can put it on this, because otherwise your pattern's just kind of laying flat and it's hard to look at. So with this, I can sit this over on a surface, and then it's kind of facing up at me so that I can see it while I'm working. So this pattern is the first one that I've done that doesn't really have a lot of repetition in it. So I'm really going to have to be looking at my pattern a lot while I'm doing it. So I think this is going to be a great, I just used this tool for another pattern that I did, another project that I did, and it worked really well. So those are my materials. So later today, I'm actually going to take this pattern and I'm going to decide where I'm going to put the color so that I'll have it kind of in my head, so that when I start the pattern, which this is the first page of the pattern. There's a rabbit, like I was telling you about. And a bunch of other birds, and I think there's some sort of a mermaid queen. And yeah, so I'll get all set today, and then I'll probably start doing the pattern tomorrow. I'll get it in my hoop. Maybe I'll do a video of me putting it in the hoop and securing the sides. I need to cut the fabric first. So anyway, thank you again so much for sponsoring me in this arts marathon. I'm so excited about these videos. I have to tell you something funny. I actually made this video once already, and I realized that my microphone was not turned on. So I really hope when I stop this video that it has sound with it, or I'm going to be really bummed. But anyway, you're going to see me 5 days a week, and yay! I'm so excited about this.